to my channel. I'm DaShannon Lovin, your friendly librarian, and I'm back with lots of book love. So let's chat. First off, let's talk about some of the books that I've just finished this past week. I didn't get a ton read this past week, but I did get a few, and a couple that I've been talking to you about. So the first one is Kate Carlisle. This is The Grim Reader. This is from her Bibliophile mystery series that I love and I talk about. I'll link the other video where I talk to you about my favorite cozy authors and mystery series. And just a disclaimer, I am one of Kate's readers. She does send me her books as they're published so that I can review them ahead of time and help get the word out there about her books. But she asked for honest reviews, and that's what I always give. So you can check that out on Goodreads. I also put my reviews on Amazon, so you can check them out there if you're interested in her. So let's talk about her latest, The Grim Reader. This is number 14 in the Bibliophile mystery series. I've talked to you about that series before. Homicide in Hardcover, If Books Could Kill, The Lies That Bind, Murder Undercover, One Book in the Grave, Peril in Paperback, A Cookbook Conspiracy, and then I think this is probably where I picked up being one of her readers. The book stops here because you'll notice now I have the hardcovers that she mails to me. Once Upon a Spine, Buried in Books, and the book Supremacy. So those are the books that led up to The Grim Reader, the one that I read this past week. She also has another series, and you may recognize the titles of these because they are on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. Shot Through the Hearth and A Wrench in the Works. I have not gone back to read all of those yet, but I have done some of them, but I don't own a lot of them. But this is called the Fixer Upper Mystery Series, and Jewel plays the main character, Shannon Hammer, in this series on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. So that's super exciting. So let's talk about The Grim Reader. In this particular book, we have a lot of the same favorite characters that we like. Brooklyn Wainwright, she's the main character. She is a well-known bookbinder, book restorer, and for some reason, I don't know why it is, everywhere she goes, she seems to find a dead body. So in this particular book, most of the time we're in San Francisco where she lives with her, they're now married, Derek Stone. Her mom is organizing Dharma's first book festival, so she goes back home to do some workshops with that and help out with that, and unfortunately, there's a dead body. So we get to know more about Derek's family in this particular book because his mother and father have now bought a place out at Dharma, which is out in California wine country, and so you get to know them a little bit better. And you get to know Brooklyn's mom, Rebecca, quite a bit. So normally Derek is the heavy in these books. Come to find out, Rebecca's got a little bit of spunk in her. So when she is threatened, she takes over and she's got this thing handled. The family does surround her, so you get to know a lot more of Brooklyn's family in this particular book. But we've met all of them before, and even some of Derek's family we've met before. So this kind of brings it all together, and I really like that. The other thing I really like about this story is it does have a predictable arc in it. Okay, it's a cozy mystery. However, I like it better than a lot of the cozy mysteries I read because it's not predictable. Like you have your suspicions. There are a lot of red herrings like all of the cozy mysteries, but it's not predictable enough that when you get to the end, you're like, well, that wasn't satisfying. It's a very satisfying, comforting read, and I really like that. I like that we learn more about Little Women. That's the particular book that is at the center of A Grim Reader, is an old copy of Little Women that Brooklyn is refurbishing. So you get a little bit of the history on that. And then Dharma is also going to put on a production of Little Women to finish out the book festival. They have an aging actress from Hollywood coming in, and she has agreed to be in Little Women. Not the starring part, but she brings her own drama to this particular rendition of Little Women. And I just like the story. I love her writing. I love her characters. I love her settings. I love that it's built around the book business, and I love those covers. There's always a cat. There's always books. I love it. On this one, we have Arts, Craft, and Pottery. Again, another one of my things. So I just really love these books. I do give them honest reviews. There are some that I like more than others, but this is definitely a winner for me. Another great thing that Kate Carlisle has started doing in her books is if she mentions a recipe, and they are foodies in these books, if she mentions a recipe or characters mention a recipe in the books, those are in the back. So included in the back of this particular one, we have recipes for the breakfast grain bowl, streusel topped maple pumpkin scones, avocado toast with cheese, bacon, fried onion, and fried egg, pancakes with banana whipped cream, Meg's Spanish style tortilla, mock Devonshire cream, traditional British scones, and breakfast tacos with homemade salsa. So cool story about the breakfast tacos. I don't know that I've ever heard the term breakfast tacos. Breakfast burrito, yes, but breakfast taco, I'm not so sure. But we went to Alabama last weekend, 2 weekends ago, and to see our son fish in a tournament, or to support him fishing in a tournament. We don't actually get to see him fish. But while we were doing that, we were traveling down south, so like Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky. We went all the way through all that, and I felt like every place I looked had breakfast tacos. And I don't think I'd ever heard of them before, so I thought that was cool that I was reading this at the time. But a fast read for me, just a couple of days, a great cozy mystery. So as I've talked about before, I am trying to make my way through the Newbery list, and there are some that I have read in the past and then some that have been on my list to read. And one that's been on my list for a long time is Sounder. It's one that, you know, I knew it was about a boy and his dog. You can see there, and there's a little Newbery on there. It's by William H. Armstrong, but I'm not sure how much I really knew about this book before I opened it. It's fabulous. It's tragic. It is so much darker than what I was expecting to pick up and read. When you look at it, and I'm thinking, oh, what is that? Like maybe 3rd or 4th grade level? Maybe, you know, like if you're probably reading it to maybe a 2nd or 3rd grade classroom. Probably not. I think, I don't know. I'd like to hear from teachers, and I'd like to know, did you read Sounder to your classroom? And if so, what age? Because the material in here is dark. It's heavy. It's also very relevant for our time. So I'm really glad that I read Sounder. I would highly recommend it. But age level wise, I'm having a harder time with this. You know, especially this is one of those old cheap, like, you know, Scholastic copies. So it doesn't seem to have, here it is on the back, it says ages 10 and up. I'm just not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. So the story, which I thought would be about Sounder the dog, is more a story of this boy and his family who remain unnamed. You do not know their names. You know that they're a sharecropping family in the deep south, and they are struggling. They are struggling to even put food on the table. So the dad makes some choices that puts the family in a terrible situation, puts himself in a terrible situation. It's tragic. And also the dog story, very loyal dog, tragic. I was expecting that. I guess I wasn't expecting the whole family story to be so tragic. The thing that I also did not know about this is in the very beginning, there is an author's note, and we find out that this story is really an oral history passed down to him from someone who taught him in the past. And I don't know, he does call him a teacher, but I'm not sure that he's technically his teacher. He's someone from the community who was at his house quite a bit, and they did call him his teacher. Well, he says my teacher, but he also talks about the fact that he learned to read at the table with this teacher, at the kitchen table. So I'm not sure, but he does say that this teacher passed along the story to him of his past, and I believe it's the boy that's in the story. So, you know, obviously that just makes it that much more interesting, tragic, and just more of a reason why we should all be reading this story. We should all read this story. But as far as what age to read it to your child, I'm not sure about that. Ages 10 and up, according to this. I know some 10-year-olds, and I'm not sure I would want to be the one reading it to them. So that's a toughie. This is the 1969 Newbery Medal Award winner. I would say, if you're gonna pin me down and make me tell you an age, I would say if an adult is reading this with a 10 to 12-year-old, I can understand that. I'd say by 13, they could read it on their own, but I'm hoping that you would discuss it with them. And then above that, we all should be reading this book. I don't care if you are 48 years old, you should read this book if you have not read it. But to just hand it to a child and be like, oh look, there's a puppy on the front. Don't let it fool you. So I do have another drink suggestion for you. This is Rheingeist, which is a local brewery here in Cincinnati. And this is called Swizzle. It's a hard cider with lemongrass and ginger. So I don't know, if you know what lemongrass or ginger tastes like, it is true to taste. And that is on top of that hard cider. So just really love it, refreshing, definitely a great summer drink. And local here in Cincinnati. The third book that I have read since the last time that I made these videos is called The Girls Who Went Away, The Hidden History of Women Who Surrendered Children for Adoption in the Decades Before Roe versus Wade. It's by Ann Fessler. I'll show you that cover. And you can see here, it's one of those, it was published by Penguin, which I think is worth mentioning. I know that if you go and just Google it, there's a ton of information out there about this book where the author was interviewed, so you can hear a lot of extra that goes on with this book. We did this with our book club this past Thursday, and we had a lady come in and speak who lives in an old farmhouse that was a laying-in hospital, which is code basically in these parts for a house where unwed mothers would come and stay to have their babies before they went back and acted like nothing happened because their babies were adopted out. So it is a National Book Critics Circle Award finalist. What I like about this book that I think is really interesting is the way that it's set up, and it's going to be kind of hard to show you on camera here, but it does not read like a novel, and it's nonfiction, but it doesn't really read like a regular nonfiction book either, which I think is what I was expecting. Instead, you get a little bit about a particular part. I'm hoping that's coming in. And then a couple people's stories that talk about it. So breaking the silence, good versus bad girls, discovery and shame, family's fears, going away, birth and surrender, the aftermath, search and reunion, talking and listening, and then every mother but my own, because we do find out that she is an adoptee also. So you get a lot of personal accounts mixed in with a commentary on this particular subject. There is some research in there, so you do get some statistics, that sort of thing. But more than anything, it's just a discussion about this time period in America's history where we sent girls away. If you got pregnant, that was your option. And then your baby was adopted out. And these are families that could or could not take care of those babies. Either way, the babies were given away and you continued on with your life. So just super good. Lots of gripping, intimate stories. And if that's what you're looking for in your nonfiction, this is a good read. You know, I don't think it's too much. I read it on my Kindle ebook from the library, but one of the ladies at the book club did have the book, so I borrowed it so I could do it on the film here and take a look at the back of it, because of course, you know, this kind of book that has all this research is documented in the back with lots of notes. So it's easier in print form to look at that. It is also indexed, so that's always a good thing for me, especially as a librarian. When I go to the nonfiction section and I pull a book off the shelf, I need you to have an index. So if someone comes in and says, I'm doing a research paper on Roe versus Wade, I should be able to look in the back at Roe versus Wade and find out what page it's mentioned on, because obviously it talks a lot about Roe versus Wade. So I would definitely recommend this book. I have not done the review. I need to do that tonight and throw it out there on Goodreads and my Facebook page. So follow me there and check out my review. But yeah, definitely a winner for me. The next book that I finished, I listened to on audio. I got it through my library, Overdrive, onto my Libby app and listened to it on my phone. And most of it I listen to while I clean my house. I clean my house on Mondays and I clean it, you know, from top to bottom. And I like to have something to listen to. So throwing it in my pocket and carrying it around with me all day, it doesn't take that long to get through one of these audiobooks. It's called The Glass Room by Ann Cleves. It is the books that the series Vera is based on. I think I may have talked to you about the show Vera. It's on BritBox and Acorn. I started watching it probably at the beginning of this whole COVID-19 thing. And unfortunately, it's like I started watching it on BritBox, which I was already subscribed to, and then it didn't have like the first 3 seasons. So after I got so much on BritBox, I had to go back, subscribe to Acorn so I could watch the first couple of seasons, and then I think even the last couple of seasons. So it was really weird the way that how you can actually watch Vera, but I really like it. It is a darker British mystery series, which I like. I really like the TV series, but I do really like the book series now. This is the only one I've done. This is not the first one in the series. So if you want to go back and do the first one, I think it wasn't available whenever I was on the library site trying to see if I would like the audiobooks of these or not. So I just got whichever one I could immediately get. But you could go back and you could start at the beginning and go through. And I will be doing that. Like, I will listen to more of these. It's very clever. The characters are very clever. I really like Vera Stanhope, who is the main character in here. She's a frumpier, older detective. She's a woman. And the detective that works with her, Joe Ashburn, something. In the TV shows, she changes the detectives that she works with. What I really like is that They don't kill off a lot of the detectives. I'm not saying they don't kill off anyone, but they don't, whenever someone like decides to leave after a season, they get a promotion and they've moved on. And I think that's really a good way to go too. I say they're dark. They're serious, they're darker. They're not as dark as some of the other British or Swedish mystery shows. They're not that dark, but they are more serious. There's not a lot of humor in them, but they're very clever. And that's what I really like about a lot of my mystery shows that I watch. I need them to be clever. Or I also like Hallmark movies and mysteries, which are ridiculously not clever at all, but they're cute. So as long as I know that going in, I'm happy with it. But with the Vera series, they're very clever and I really like that. So that takes me up to 30 books read this year, which is pretty much on track. My goal in the last, I'd say 5 years, 10 years-ish, has been to read 70 books a year. And that's not too bad. I have to do more than just 30 and 30. But, you know, I have that stack that I've done those videos of before, my daily reads. So as I'm getting a couple of books done a week, then I also get those books done by the end of the year. They all kind of stack up at once and I finish all of those. So I'm on par. I'm happy with where I'm at. But by the time I do a Kindle or an audio or a print book, and you know, that's about 3 a week, and that's if I finish it. So I kind of slowed down during COVID, so I got to pick that back up. But a couple more really exciting things that I want to talk to you about. While I was down in Alabama, I got an email from Reese's Hello Sunshine Book Club, and they said they would be sending me both of the books right at the end of May, beginning of June. We were really in upheaval as a country, and so the Hello Sunshine group kind of paused announcing that book club choice for June, and a lot of book clubs did that. A lot of bloggers stopped what they were doing. A lot of YouTube booktuber people stopped what they were doing, and we all, you know, tried to focus on that. So now Reese's Hello Sunshine Book Club has announced that they are doing a June and July. They're going to do 2 different books. They are going to do I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness by Austin Channing Brown, and The Guest List by Lucy Foley. And some people have already posted their reviews on The Guest List. I've listened to a couple of booktubers about it, and it sounds like I'm going to really like that. And I'm excited to read I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness. I recognize the cover of that, but I'm not sure that I have seen it that much. So I'm liking that they put that out there for the book club. But they said they would be emailing me both of those books, so I'm anxious to get those. It's been like Thursday will be 2 weeks, I think, since I have heard from them. So I'm hoping to get those books soon so I can get those read. As I have mentioned before, back in February, I sent in an audition tape and an essay applying for Hello Sunshine's resident librarian. I haven't heard anything back, but as far as I can tell on any of their social sites, they've also not hired anyone, so hopefully that's still out there. And then I'm pretty sure that I had entered Instagram sweepstakes also to get free books for their book club anytime. So we're gonna believe that with those 2 things together, everything came together and I'm getting those 2 books sent to me. So I'm trying to get some of the stuff that I'm reading finished, so as soon as they get here, I can read them and review them and get them out there to you so that you know what those are. So really excited about that. The other thing that is super exciting right now is I've heard of NetGalley before, but I have 5,000 books in my house that need to be read. And I have a whole library at work that I can pull and read from anytime. So between those 2 things and picking up books at thrift stores or hearing about something and grabbing it from the library, I wasn't sure NetGalley was something that I really was that interested in. So it feels like since I've been doing these videos, watching more booktubers, talking to people about books in a different sort of way, I do realize that a lot of the books that I read are older, like they've been out for a while. And then people are talking about new up and coming books, and when I go to the library and try and get those, I'm on a forever waiting list. I'm still waiting for Big Summer. I'm still waiting for the beach read. I've been on that list since like April and I haven't gotten them yet. So with NetGalley, basically what you do is you fill out an application, you tell them what you're interested in, and they give you pre-publication copies. You get those in like ebook form. So I filled out the application. I have heard a lot about Riley Sager, and so I just put that in there. I put Barbara Kingsolver's in there. I put some authors that I don't care what the book's about. If it's by that author, I'm gonna read it. And they sent me an email. Hey, here's a copy of Riley Sager's book. And it came to my email. I clicked on it, it was delivered to my Kindle, and so I really want to get to read that one. So I'm trying to finish a couple of books that I've been reading for a while. That book is called Home Before Dark, and it will be out in stores June 30th, so I want to get it read like right now. I did get thrown off track by being on vacation out of state and coming back. I didn't do those daily book recommendations on my Goodreads, catching up my shelf so that I have that stack here to say, hey, these are the ones I've recommended lately. So I apologize. I will get back on track with that, but I don't have them for this particular video. So I'm just basically talking to you about the books that I've read in the last weeks since I did the video, and then there's some book news that I really wanted to talk to you about. In one of my previous videos, I told you that Artemis Fowl by Ian Colfer was being turned into a movie. It was supposed to be in theaters, I believe in March, possibly May, but with the whole COVID-19 thing, theaters are shut down. We're not putting movies in theaters. So it came to Disney Plus. I'm pointing to my TV as if you know there's a TV right there. But it came to Disney Plus. I get Disney Plus free. Hello, Marina. I get Disney Plus free with Spectrum, I believe it is. So you might want to check there to see how Disney Plus works for you. But I did check out that movie. I really enjoyed it, but I am a huge Artemis Fowl fan. So Artemis Fowl is a YA book series. I would say you could start reading those about intermediate through high school and beyond. And it is about Artemis Fowl, whose dad ends up being a super famous person. He knows he's really rich, but he doesn't really know what his dad does. And then his dad gets in some trouble, and he finds out what his dad does for a living, and he has to go out and help his dad get out of the mess that he's in. Artemis Fowl is super smart, and he does then get connected to this underworld of fairies. They are not good fairies, but underworld of fairies and giants, and just really cool, fun story. There's a lot of humor in the books. I didn't find a lot of humor in the movie, but the setting in the movie is awesome. I think it's well done. The effects are well done. Judi Dench is in it, which I think is super cool. Actually, there are a couple of stars that were in it. And I would say that the movie hangs out about the same age group. Like anything from intermediate on, I think they're gonna appreciate the movie, especially if you like a little bit. I mean, I know that because I'm saying fairies that it sounds like it's fantasy, but it's more science fiction than fantasy. I don't know. I'm not sure how to really say that, but it's true. Another movie that I would mention that is not based on a book, but if you are a mystery fan, you can tell that I talk a lot about mysteries. Knives Out hit Amazon Prime, so if you're an Amazon Prime member, it's free. But Knives Out, that movie, we went and saw it when it was in the theater. I loved it. John was like, what the heck is going on? But he did end up liking it too, and I put it back on today whenever I was making up the script for this video. I put it back out there and listened to it, and I had forgotten exactly what had happened in the end, like how it all shook down, you know, like the Scooby way in the end when they're like, here's what happened. I had forgotten how all that falls out, and it is just so clever. It's so clever. I love all the characters that are in it. So it's just really fun. There is a terribly disgusting scene in the end that again I had forgotten about, and it was on the big screen. You'd think I'd be scarred for life, but because I wasn't, then there again, then you should know that when you watch it on TV, you're not gonna be scarred for life, even though you feel like you might be. Another book to movie that I don't know that I've talked to you about before, but The Hate You Give. There are several movies that are out there right now that are free streaming on multiple platforms, and The Hate You Give is one of them. Highly recommend the book. I loved it. It's by Angie Thomas. She also has another book called The Come Up, which I have not read yet, but The Hate You Give is a must-read, high school and up for sure. It's the story of two teenagers who kind of reconnected. They were friends earlier. They kind of reconnect the night of a party. Something happens, and one of them is killed by a police officer. And I'm not really giving anything up. I think it's gonna say it probably on any summary that you read. But the way that it all then rolls out from there is just phenomenal. It's a great story. I have not watched the movie yet. I hope to be watching it soon. But it is streaming for free on most platforms. And I'll provide a link to that below. Another article that I shared on Facebook that I'm just gonna throw out there because it's book related are 10 obnoxious things hardcore readers say to people. Here they are. Oh, you watch television. Oh, I read. I've heard that one before. I haven't said it. Number 2, oh, I didn't see that movie because I already read the book and obviously the book is gonna be better. Not always true. Number 3, I only read 100 books last year. I hope to do better this year. I would love to read 100 books, but even I know that I read an exorbitant amount of books, and I try not to brag about that. Number 4, your favorite writer is Jodi Picoult. Yeah, okay. I mean, no. I mean, she's fine. She's fine. Don't author shame. Number 5, I would love to buy something like that, but I spend all my money on books. I don't spend my money on books. I mean, I do, but I don't buy a lot of retail books. I buy them from thrift stores. I have a stack of those to show you today. People give them to me. I get them from the library. I don't spend that much money on books, even though it looks like it. Number 6, ebooks. Ew, there's just something tangible about a book. The way that it smells. Okay, I agree with that one. I like to own my books. I like to own them. I like to put them on my shelf. I like to pull them off the shelf, flip through them, look at them. I do. I like a tangible book. However, since I got my Kindle, which I think is about going on 3 years now, it has changed my reading life. Because again, I definitely get my books secondhand. I very seldom go out and buy a brand new book. But with a library, you can get those ebooks sent to your Kindle for free. You can get those audiobooks sent to your phone for free. There's no beating that, and you can keep super current. Number 7. Oh, you're just getting to that book now? I read that ARC months ago. Definitely not that one. I don't have a lot of ARCs. I did have a former student who worked in the book business and gave us a lot of ARCs a while back, advanced reader copy, where she would get them pre-publication and give them to us. But I didn't get them usually until after the book was already out there. So I don't do a lot of ARCs. Sometimes bookstores, especially independent bookstores, if you walk in, they'll have a shelf of ARCs where they just have to give them to you, like they can't sell them. But even if you're at Goodwill and you see ARC on the spine of one of the books, they should not be selling those. Those were donated and they were free. Number 8, teehee, I just bought all these books and goodness, I feel so guilty. I don't know that I've ever felt guilty about buying a book. If I bought it retail, there was a reason for buying it retail, and I love them. They're part of my house. They're part of my life. I love them. Number 9, where are your bookshelves? I have a ton of book friends who do not keep their books. So if you walked into their house, you might not know they're a reader. They don't have a ton of bookshelves. Not everybody likes to keep them. A lot of people, and again, that's how I get a lot of the books that I read. People just pass them on. And number 10, I don't understand how you fill your time if you don't read. Each to their own. Not everybody reads. My husband is fishing right now. He is not a reader, but he would fish as much as I read if he could. So just remember, if you feel the urge to be a judgy McJudgerpants, don't do it. In a previous video, I recommended the book The Meg. I love the book. I listened to it on audio. It talks a lot about the Mariana Trench, and I've talked to you a little bit about that too. But I also shared an article here in the last little bit where NASA astronaut from the historic spacewalk becomes the first woman to also reach the deepest point in the ocean in that Mariana Trench. So super interesting article. And because I had talked to you about the Meg, I did want to make sure that I threw that out there, so I will link that below. Totally unbook related, I put an article out there about plant care. I have talked to you about plants. I was hoping to film outside again, and my corn plant has really just taken off, and it's lovely, and it's usually in the background of my videos. So that was gonna be why I would tell you about this particular article. So after setting up out there, it was way too windy to actually be able to talk to you, and you'd be able to hear me through the microphone when the wind was going crazy. So I will link that below. Be sure and check my website on the read page. I do put a list of a lot of the book news, up and coming things that I've mentioned in previous videos, and there are a couple that I'm not sure that I've actually mentioned that I put on there. So just saying, Applegate's The One and Only Ivan, which is a super cute Newbery, I believe it's a Newbery award winner. They are turning that into a movie, and it also has a sequel, so that's on there. Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile is being made into a movie. If you'll remember, Murder on the Orient Express came out like 2 years ago, and they did a fabulous job, so I'm super excited about Death on the Nile, and I need to read it before it comes out. Tom Clancy's Without Remorse is coming out in September of this year, so that's super exciting for Tom Clancy fans. I am not. Like, I think I've listened to maybe some of his books, or at least one of his books, to make sure that I've got a good grasp on what's going out there, but they're just not really for me. But it is coming to theaters, and if you're a Tom Clancy fan, I want you to know about it. Roald Dahl, The Witches, is coming in October of this year, so right in time for Halloween. If that's not one that you've read, again, that would be a great one to share with your children, intermediate on up. Fluke's Dragon Rider is being turned into a movie. So again, that's about intermediate on up, but dragons, if your kids are into dragons, this will be a great read. Definitely a children's read. Frances Hodgens Burnett, who did The Secret Garden, that is supposed to be coming out this summer. Again, with all of COVID, everything's kind of backed up, but that's supposed to be coming out to a movie. They've made movies out of that one before, so it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do about that. Jenny Han, remember, her books have been turned into Netflix movies, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, P.S. I Still Love You. Those are on Netflix. And it's a 3-book series. The third, Always and Forever, is now in production. So that's super exciting, especially for my high school girls who love Jenny Han. Another classic read, Dune by Herbert. That one is coming out, I believe, in December of this year. So another one that I haven't read, but if it's book news, I try and get it on there in case you are a fan. A book that's been on my to-be-read list for a long time is Nessa's The Knife of Never Letting Go. It's a whole series. I think it's called the Walking Chaos series, I believe. They're going to turn that into a movie, so I really need to get that one done. So to find out more, make sure you follow me on all my social media and take a look at that website page to see any of the dates that go with those movies or any articles that I come across. I try and link them there. So that being said, what am I reading now? So I am still making my way through House of Leaves. Again, you can see, like, this is a kicker. And I had someone comment on one of my Facebook posts and say, have you read House of Leaves? I'm trying. It's a great book. I love it. I've talked about it in previous videos, but it's dark and it's heavy. And more than just heavy. I did finally get started on The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is the prequel to the Hunger Games series. You know, here's the kicker. I pre-ordered it from an independent bookstore during COVID to make sure that I had it. It got here. It's hefty. I'm not scared off by long books, but I like to finish a book in about a week, and I knew this was a bigger commitment. I like the Hunger Games series. I know a lot of people really struggle with that third book and feeling like Katniss was not true to her character. I feel like it was the growth of a character, so I'm okay with that. But again, I've been watching booktubes, and it wasn't great feedback coming back from this, and I just thought, you know, it's hard to pick up a book like this, make that commitment when it's not getting tons of great reviews. So finally though, I'm like, look, this is the one that I took with me. I got it started, and I really like it. It's really good. I forgot how much I like her writing. I like the story. I know it's morbid. The characters talk about how morbid the Hunger Games are in this book, and this comes prior to the Hunger Games that you've already experienced. So the main character in this, and I have no idea how to say his name, Coriolanus Snow. So, you know, Snow, who we know from who runs the Hunger Games in the books that you've already read. He is the main character, and he's 18 years old in this book, and he is the mentor for one of the tributes, and it's the tribute from District 12. So I don't want to say too much, but I'm about 100 pages in, and I just really like it. I just think it's one of those, getting that background story. We all know how unlikable Snow is. So her trying to tell you his backstory, and I'm sure he will do deplorable things in this too, but getting to know a little bit of that backstory, I just think is what an author is all about. It's what sets a good author apart, is when they've already thought about this before they do the next thing. And it's good so far. So still reading, hope to finish this soon because I have a lot of books coming in the mail and I really want to get to that Riley Sager. So it was delivered onto my Kindle. I'm not sure if that's going to come out on video or not, but it was delivered right to my Kindle. So I hope to get to read that one. I'm super excited about it. And then I also started this one that I had talked to you about before. I'd rather be reading The Delights and Dilemmas of the Reading Life by Anne Bogle. She is the creator of Modern Miss Darcy. I met her at the Books by the Banks here in Cincinnati. So that's always really cool. But I started reading that and I'm really enjoying it. It's very good. Just a short nonfiction book written for readers. So in addition to that, my audiobook came in from the public library. One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. I've not read her before, but that book has gotten a lot of buzz, so that's the book that I will be listening to this week. So I mentioned earlier that I did hit some thrift store and consignment stores on vacation or on my trip, and here are the ones that I came back with. So I just wanted to give you a short book haul portion to this. Old Pioneers, not Old Pioneers, The Pioneers by David McCullough. I had shown you that I do have the audio to this that I'm going to read. One of my book club members thinks that it might be a good choice for our book club for next year, and we always make that list in August, so I'm excited about that. The Mister by E.L. James. I've heard a lot about this. It is by the author of 50 Shades of Grey, but I have not read it, so I'm super excited about that. It's just a nice little paperback. Free Range Knitter. This just looks like a fun one. It says, The Yarn Harlot Writes Again, so it just looks fun. The One and Only, I have a couple of her other books, and I need to get to them. Dee Henderson's Thread of Suspicion and Evie Blackwell Cold Case. I don't know this, it looks like a good mystery to me, so I picked it up. And then this was my super exciting find. It's a Book of the Month edition, Into the Water by Paula Watkins. So I am super excited about that. You'll remember Paula Watkins as she is the author of The Girl on the Train. I did read that. I don't think I've reviewed it, but it was a super good mystery. So this one looks super exciting. And like I said, I really enjoy that I finally got a Book of the Month book edition. I am not a member of Book of the Month, but I am really, really tempted. But right now I've got to get all of my books unpacked and on a shelf that my husband is currently finishing. And then the last one is Diamond Head by Cicely Wong. Again, I have no idea what this one is about, but I walked into a thrift store and saw that beautiful spine, and it looks super good. So these are all on my to be read list. That is my book haul from the thrift and consignment store shopping. We went to Florence, Alabama, and in Florence, Alabama, there's a consignment shop called the Fashion Exchange. They had two locations, one in Florence and one in a nearby town that we drove through with all of the fishing things, and they had great book selections. So don't forget your consignment stores to pick up some cheap copies of books. I mean, all of these books were probably, like, the stickers are off of them, but they were probably like $3 and $4 or $5, like super cheap. Actually, I think this one was like 75 cents. I'm pretty sure. I walked into some kind of a thrift shop and it was under $1 because I had to get change out of my pocket. I am also still listening to James and the Giant Peach and the Harry Potter book read by people associated with the Harry Potter world, and both of those are just online, and I'm just kind of making my way through those. For the last couple of videos, I've included some podcasts that I've been listening to, some that I listen to all the time, and then the other ones I just kind of make my way through. And two that I have listened to in the last couple of weeks that I have super enjoyed is Do You Need a Ride? And it is, Karen is in this one. Karen from My Favorite Murder, which is my favorite podcast. She is one of the two people that run My Favorite Murder, and she does this other podcast called Do You Need a Ride with another person. And it's literally, again, something that I turn on when I'm just doing mundane tasks around the house or driving from one place to another by myself. I listen to it because it's two people just talking. They're more like Hollywood talking because she works in television, and I'm not sure what he does, but he's definitely, I think he's also in television or somewhere in Hollywood. So they work with people and they just talk about life. It's like a Seinfeld episode. It is a podcast about really nothing. The other one, and I think I may have told you about this one, but there's a great episode that I wanted to link below about education, and that is called This Podcast Will Kill You. And it's their episode where they talk about what this has done to education and what it might look like from here on out. It was super good, and I would recommend it for any educator. So when I was talking to you about NetGalley, and I said you have to pick out authors that you want their stuff or particular subject areas or whatever. And I'm like, who is it that I would read? It doesn't matter who it comes from. I had reposted that on Facebook, not the NetGalley, but like there was something from, I think, a public library where they said, who are your go-to authors? Who would you read? Who would you pick up and buy their book no matter what it was about? You don't even have to open it up or read the cover. So mine were Barbara Kingsolver, Kate Carlisle, Fannie Flagg, Agatha Christie, Michael Crichton. Those are probably 5 of my authors that I will read whatever they write. I don't care if it's fiction, if it's nonfiction, if it's 200 pages, or if it's 600 pages. If it's by them, I will read it. So think about that. Think about who are your authors. I got some good feedback on that post, and I just think it's interesting. And when people would mention somebody that I'm like, God, I haven't read them before, and I usually like what they like. So it's just interesting to see. What do you think who are your favorite authors? I have added about 4 local coffee shop stops to my Instagram. So if you're a coffee lover, especially locally, but of course I picked up quite a few when I was traveling, but if you are a coffee fan, check out my Instagram. I always hashtag the number of my coffee shop stops. And if you have any favorite local coffee shops, or even, not local, I travel a lot, so I would just love to know what your favorite coffee shop is. So I make sure it's on my list. I do have a list. I have a list of the ones that I visited, and I have a list of the ones that I want to visit. Shocking, because I've talked to you about how much I love lists. I'm happy to be your friendly librarian. Please follow me on social platforms so that we can keep connected. Follow me on Facebook, Goodreads, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, and check out my website. Let's be friends. Comment, email, text, message me, talk to me. Let me know what it is that you liked about the videos, what books you've read and you enjoyed, or what books you're looking for. I'm happy to do a video with whatever it is that you are looking for recommendations on. And remember that you can access most of these books from your public library for free. You do not have to go out and purchase these books. Hit subscribe and like so that I know that you're enjoying. And thanks for watching, folks. I really have enjoyed doing this. Keep in touch. Enjoy.